Hey guys, Exterminator D from the SC Gamers here. In this episode of my brand new Black Ops 2 series, I will be reviewing the new SMG, the Peacekeeper, from the Revolution map pack. Alright, so let's get right into this. Oh yes, on a side note, this gameplay isn't one of my best, I'm aware of that. It was one of my starter games, so I haven't quite gotten into the groove of things yet. But anyways, it'll be in the background just for you to see a little bit of the Peacekeeper gameplay. This video does not really do the Peacekeeper justice, the gameplay that is, but I'll do my best to give it a fair rating, and I'll discuss it as unbiasedly as possible. So let's get right into it. So, as Treyarch defines the Peacekeeper, it's a hybrid between a submachine gun and a rifle. Now what that means is it will incorporate short range and long range, obviously. But on a more tactical note, a submachine gun differs greatly from a rifle in the means of it being able, or range comprehension rather. So basically, with let's say a PDW, you're able to hit people up to a range, let's say 50 meters at max, with accuracy and damage intact. Now with a Peacekeeper, you're able to extend that range to say 150 max and still get a 5 to 6 kill shot, not with a suppressor. But that's pretty good for a submachine gun, considering it's a submachine gun really, to say simply as possible. But regarding damage, without a suppressor, it's about a 4 to 6 shot kill. If it's a headshot, less, so about 4 to 5 maybe. But if you are using a suppressor, it's about 5 to 6 shots to kill somebody. And also with the suppressor, you drop your range. Now before I get into attachments you should use for the gun, we'll discuss a bit more about the gun. So let's see, we've covered range, we've covered damage, rate of fire. Now, when I first used this weapon, I assumed it would be something like the MSMC, with a low fire rate and a high damage output. Now, when I compare it, it kind of seems to me like a morph between the M27 and the MSMC. I say that because MSMC and the M27 have low fire rates, but they also have marginal damage output. The M27 has a low damage output, but the MSMC has a very good damage output, so I guess it's an average between those two guns. But anyways, I would say that the Peacekeeper is a bit of a downgrade maybe for the MSMC in terms of fire rate and damage output. Now, it's pretty much like a souped up M27. The range is practically the same, but you sacrifice a bit of accuracy for increased damage as well as fire rate. Okay, so that's range, damage, and fire rate covered. So now let's go into some attachments you could use for this weapon. Now, attachments that I use for the weapon, I have them all unlocked, but I use the silencer and sometimes a grip. I will exchange the grip either for FMJ or maybe a sight. One thing I forgot to mention earlier was the sights. I really enjoy the iron sights on this gun. I don't really feel they're too similar to many other submachine guns of its class, but I just really enjoy the sights on the gun. I'm not sure why. I guess they just really appeal to me because I'm usually a reflex dot type of person. I don't really enjoy playing with iron sights, but this is one gun where that really doesn't matter to me. Okay, so now that we have the iron sights down, let's talk about the attachments I use for the gun. I already mentioned them earlier, but I usually use silencer and grip, and that's what I would recommend pretty much, because I'm usually an objective game mode player, so demolition, domination, all those. So I usually need to have a silenced weapon to get into the spawns, you know, work the objectives so I can be undetected practically. But pretty much what I've seen with silencers in Black Ops 2 as a whole is they still make plenty of noise so you can still be detected despite the radar drop. But even so, using a silencer is still a good idea, I would say. Now, as far as a secondary attachment goes, if you want to use one of those, I would recommend a grip and or FMJ. I say a grip because the Peacekeeper is accurate, but it's a submachine gun, keep that in mind. Which means its accuracy drops as the range increases, which is what I was really skeptical about when they said Treyarch said it was a hybrid in between a rifle and a submachine gun. Because if you think about it, that's somewhat of a paradox. I say that because a rifle is long range, usually high damage output, but not much fire rate. Submachine gun, on the other hand, high fire rate, and it's very good up close. So when you combine the two, I guess you're just averaging out the stats for both of the weapons, rifles and submachine guns. I guess that's what they tried to do for the Peacekeeper.
Friendly UAV inbound. Good job. Get ready for the next round.
I'm back, guys. Sorry, I had to recharge my mic. But anyways, we left off discussing how the rifle, the Peacekeeper rather, was a combination of a rifle and a submachine gun. Now, I was talking about the attachments of it, but I got a bit sidetracked discussing a paradox value for the gun itself, but that's not very interesting. So, as far as attachments go, I mentioned that I use silencer and FMJ and or grip. Now, I was talking about the grip because accuracy drops, obviously, when you're using a submachine gun at ranges, and that's just the case with the Peacekeeper. So if you want to keep good accuracy at longer ranges, say 50 to 100 meters, I would recommend a grip. Now, let's say you want to be able to attack people up close and hit them, say, through a trash can or something. I'd recommend using FMJ because as much damage as the Peacekeeper does, it doesn't really have a very large clip size. 30 bullets, nothing compared to the PDW, which just has 50, and you can mow so many people down without even aiming down sights. And that's another thing. I would recommend using a laser sight too for this if you can. I mean, if you want to have a third attachment, that would be a good idea if you go that route. But if you just want to stick with 2 attachments, I would just stick with a laser sight and a silencer and or FMJ and a silencer. Because with the Peacekeeper, you really don't have a huge, I'm not sure what your hip fire range is. You know, with the markers on your screen where you run, they get bigger. Not sure what those are called. But with the laser sight, it obviously makes that reticle smaller. And with the Peacekeeper, that's really helpful because sometimes you will get caught into a spray and pray situation where you will be forced to not be able to aim down sights to fend for your life. And with the Peacekeeper, it's probably not a winning fight due to its fire rate. But if you do get into that circumstance, I would recommend using a laser sight. But that is all for attachments. Now let's rate the gun overall. I'm just going to rate all the areas as fairly as possible, so let's go with power. For the power of the Peacekeeper, I would have to rate it on a 1 out of 10 scale. I'd have to give it a 7 or so. And just to give you a comparative value, I'd say an MSMC is a 10. I mean, not a 10, a 9 rather. And let's just use a rifle. M27 would be like a 5. Alright, as far as range goes, I would have to give this a 9, considering it's a submachine gun that has the range that it does. Attachments, well, I really can't give it a rating, but I told you my recommendation, which would be a silencer and a grip, or silencer and FMJ, or silencer and a laser sight. Now, rating the gun overall as a whole, adding all the values together, so that's attachments, range, damage, rate of fire, and all the other ones that I haven't really talked about, but more technical attributes that aren't really needed to be covered. But adding them all together, I would have to rate this gun at 6.5 to a 7. I really enjoy this gun, and I've been able to get some pretty insane streaks with it. I recommend you guys use it too. But I'm going to stop talking here and let you guys watch the rest of the gameplay, sorry. I hope you enjoyed this video, and see us again next time for some zombies commentary. I'm sorry, I cannot talk today, wow. But zombies commentary, be playing some turn, some die rise, and we'll be doing the Easter egg as soon as we find out what it is, and we can do it fluently. But thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoyed.
Be advised, hostile hunter-killer drone inbound. Bomb is armed. Hostile warthog inbound. Be advised, hostile care package inbound. Bomb deactivated. The bomb has been planted. Hostile UAV above. Lightning strike awaiting coordinates.
Hercules 1-1.
Friendly lightning strike inbound.
Report negative effect.
love joining a game when we lose.